There you go. I could just about hang up the boots on YouTube now. I've shown the world what I can do. I probably can't really top that, what I've done in this garage here. Howdy YouTube, and welcome to another episode of the Gunman. So finally the day has come that we're going to start breaking the surface on the paint on my LH Torana. So it was painted about 4 or 5 months ago now, but I did put 4 coats of clear coat onto the top. So the bonnet, roof and boot lid got 4 coats, and I did 3 down the side. So the sides did sort of cure up a fair bit faster, but yeah, putting that extra coat of clear coat on definitely does make a difference to the drying time. So I think it's probably perfect that I'm not in a hurry for this job, and I did wait the full amount of time to wait for it to fully cure up. So either way, all that aside, let's just start off by having a quick look at the paint and what we're dealing with. So it's a nice tight finish, right? So if you look close at it, there is like a little bit of fine orange peel in it, but it's exactly what I was looking for. So when I painted this job, there was a few main things that I went in that I wanted to achieve, right? I didn't want any solvent boil trapped under the surface, because basically what that is the solvents are trying to release, but the top has already skinned over, and then you get these gases trying to release, and they won't be able to break through the surface. They will pop under the surface, and then you're left with like a little air pocket under there. You can generally sort of hide them with the buff, but if you get close up enough, you will see that there's like a broken finish. It's an imperfect finish. So I didn't want that, and I didn't want heavy orange peel, because I knew I was going to be buffing the entire car. So yeah, I wanted a very tight orange peel. This is the kind of orange peel that's got a few swipes with the block, and it should be pretty much dead straight. So all that aside, I've got some products over here, so I thought I'd give you guys a look at the products that I'm going to be using. So the first thing I'm going to be using is just straight up 1200 grit. I did have some of these. Ray from 3M over there in Perth did give me some of these things, and they kind of look cool, but yeah, I just found them a little bit floppy around on the block. They may have a specific block for them, but I don't have them. I just ended up opting for the just good old standard 1200 grit, wet or dry. Can't go wrong with that. Good old 3M. You know what you're going to get when you're buying 3M abrasives, as you can see there. I'm a bit of an elitist when it does come to sandpapers. I find it to be a bit of a false economy to go and try and use the cheaper ones, because you'll end up using 3 times the amount, so it'll end up costing potentially even more than just spending a couple more extra dollars on the good ones the first time. But all of that aside, this is what I'm going to be using as well to block the car down with. So shout out to Peter from Malamotive. Thanks for sending that out. They sent that out a few years ago, so they didn't need the shout out, but I'll give it to them anyway. So I do appreciate little things like that. But yeah, so the idea of this, it does have it written on the front there, is that they've got soft, medium, firm and hard blocks, right? So the soft one and the white one, medium red, firm is black, and then hard is the glass or the clear one. So they are designed to go with different sandpapers. So it does tell you here, so the hard one is designed for 600 and 800 grit, the firm is 600 to 1200 grit, and so on as you go down with the finer one. So this one here is very soft, right, and that's designed for sort of 2000 and up. But I'm not going to be using these for all steps of the job, and I'm not even going to be going any coarser than 1200 grit. I don't think it's necessary for what I'm looking for. Now, there are definitely levels to, you know, the refinishing procedure, and some people just go way, way above what I care to do, if that makes sense. So they'll get these splines and they'll make all these lines exactly perfect and make sure they'll weld these edges up, and that's a level that I'm just not interested in. And even the absolutely dead flat perfect finish, I'm not really interested in that. I never really have been. At the start of this job, I was actually considering it, like getting the splines and trying to sort of you know, rub shoulders with the sort of the elite of the industry. But then once I got halfway through it, I'm like, man, that's not me. That never has been me. I just want to turn a rusty old bucket of shit into a nice shiny ride again, and I'm more than capable of doing that without needing to be perfect. I don't think everything does need to be perfect. But either way, like I say, my procedure, I'm going to try this. I've never really used this one before. previously I have used that. You can see the sludge on there. So I do actually quite like these black ones. They're nice and firm, but they're not, you're not really gonna risk sort of, I'm thinking with that clear one, if you sort of get that on one of these, you'll dig gouges into it. So yeah, just like anything, everything is easy as long as you know what you're doing. So you do just have to be careful of little things like that. So because it's so hard, these edges are prone to sort of dig in, and you can create gouges, and you do have to be extra careful for that. So once I hit it with the 1200, I'm going to be doing that wet with some wet or dry papers. Once I've done that, I did opt, now I do have somewhere the 2000 grit, the dry ones, but I don't think I'm going to use them. So what I've decided to do this time is go for the 1500s, but with the Trizac. These discs are amazing and they last for a really long time. So I used to prefer the dry ones. So these are the Trizac ones, right? And they just go and go and go, and you can just spray them out with a bit of water if they do start clogging up, and they'll just keep going and going and going. So like I say, you do need water with them, so potentially use a interface pad as well, depending on the kind of work that you're looking for. And I'm even thinking, so what I might do is block with the 1200 grit, block the roof bonnet boot lid, but down the sides I'll probably just hit it straight up with that 1500 grit, right? Because I do want like that nice dead flat sort of orange, you know, orange peel free finish. But I just don't think I care that much to sit there blocking and blocking the entire side of the car. There's movies inside that I can watch, there's video games that I can play, and, you know, hey, if I'm having heaps of fun and, you know, time is not a thing, well then maybe I will block the sides. So these are another good little thing, but they've got their own little soft foam backing to them, so you don't need to use the interface pad with that. But I'm thinking that'll be a good way to get rid of the bulk of the 1500 before I hit it with the 3000. But yeah, one thing I'm looking forward to using is this at the very end. So once I've done all the polishing, right, I'll do step 1, step 2, step 3. I'll then maybe even leave it for a week just to make sure I'm happy with how it's polished, because sometimes you can get some sanding scratches coming back. Either way, I'll make sure it's nice and clean, and then I'm going to top it off with this. So that is a ceramic coating from Sonax. It's one of their new ones. I called up Stefan yesterday and he dropped it off within a couple of hours, so that was pretty awesome. But yeah, CC1, they do actually have like a couple of different ceramic coatings now. I did have one of their other ones here, which is a CC63, a bit dusty, but that's another one I did have. That's a 2-step. I heard that they had a new product or two, so I just said, look, give me that. I like the idea of a single step. So this one, it's just a wipe on type thing, wait for a few minutes, wipe off. So it's not a double step. So the other previous ones are a double step. You'd have to go over the entire car twice, but yeah, he reckons this is a pretty good one, so that's why I thought I'd try something different. And yeah, just a side note, if anyone does want to buy anything from Sonax Australia, and you're in Australia, you can use, I have a product code, a discount code, Gunman10, so Gunman 10, and you will get yourself a 10% discount from anything across the Sonax Australia website. So they got some awesome stuff, good detailing products and all the polishing products and pads and all of that stuff too. So yeah, that he's given me a few specific microfibers, because he says with this, like, you got to use a new one each time you use it, because the product sort of goes hard in the microfiber, so once you've used it, it's pretty much done. But all of that aside, let's just get into the work and start sounding this thing down. And one thing I did actually want to just sort of point out, you can't really see it until you get a little bit closer, right? But when you do get a little bit closer, it looks like, right, it's got some very minor solvent boil, but it popped through the surface. So what it's left me with is these tiny little indentations, but they'll block out easy. I just wanted to point it out to you. It's nothing major. I don't know how well that's sort of picking up on the camera, but some of what you're seeing there is sort of sand piling, but some of it is very, very small solvent boil. But like I say, it was okay. It is okay because it's popped out through the surface. It's not trapped underneath the surface. When it's trapped underneath the surface, the entire gloss will drop down, right? And it'll sort of look a little bit milky, powdery, like a white type haze to it over the top. But I didn't get that. You can see I've got good clarity of the color. And considering that's a 3-stage, I'm so glad that I did decide to go for solvent. If this was a 3-stage, any water system, they're all the same, you'd have like really bad dieback through it. So it's nearly one of those ones where you'd have to sort of sand it back and flow coat it, or just do what I did, sort of put the 4 coats, and you'd probably only get the gloss out of polishing it. But it would be a bit of a pain in the ass because you'd have to go over all these, like all the little edges, and yeah. So for me, if I don't buff anything sort of below there, it doesn't matter because it's already glossy and it's nice and tight finish. It doesn't have like thick, heavy orange peel in it. But either way, let's get in to start doing the work. Alright, so there we go. So 1200 grit on that hard sanding block there. Let's see how we go. A little bit of water. Anything this hard on clear coat, you do have to be extra careful. I can just hear those keyboard warriors. That's not the right way to block a car, man. You gotta block it with this, and you gotta block it this way. It doesn't block properly, man. What the heck? I actually think I prefer this black one. Feels like it sort of bites in a little bit more. It may not be getting it as flat, but a little bit of something caught under there. Alright, so that's the first stage done. So that was 1200 grit with the black sanding block there. So yeah, 1200 grit wet. And that's pretty much what I'm looking for. You can see like there's the odd little shiny spot here and there, but I'm confident that we'll pick that up with the 1500 grit. So one thing worth noting is that, yeah, so anything orbital will be a little bit finer. So 1200 grit, if you were to say use that on an orbital, it's probably equivalent to say 1000 grit on the orbital. That's the size of the scratches that it leaves behind. So yeah, they are going to be a little bit deeper than if that was say 1200 grit orbital scratches, if that makes sense. Just careful on those edges because we do not want to cut through. Just go over each section a few times in both directions, sort of that way and this way. Slow that down a little bit. Already got that on the setting number 3. And then what we'll do is give that a quick dry down and see how it's looking. These are just the cheap microfibers from Aldi actually. That'll get me through. Yeah, it's sort of hard to tell much difference really between the, oh no you can, if you get your eye in on the light, you can see that it's starting to shine it up a bit. That means it's just going up to that next, yeah, the next sandpaper grade. So yeah, we'll do that for the rest of it. I'm still blown away at the fact that I painted this like 5 or 6 months ago, and when I started blocking it down, it just got really stinky. Like it smells like you're in the booth and you're spraying a car. That's how strong it is. It's crazy. I just can't believe how long it's keeping that smell for. See what I mean? It's gutless, mate. It bogs down. Maybe it needs a bit more. And then it's too fast. No, it's a terrible sander, this thing. I tell you what, I don't like the Roops polishes as well, the buffs. They die, that just don't last. Have a look at that. It's barely doing anything. It's not spinning. It's an orbital dual action sander. The idea is you're getting 2 actions, but it's not spinning, right? So it's meant to go around in circles and wobble to the side. We're losing, like it's barely doing anything. At that point, when it's not spinning around in circles, what can I do to make you turn? I've tried speeding it up. It's not a pressure thing. Look at that. Terrible, terrible machine. Roops, what are you doing? You had one job. Look at that, it's not doing anything, man. It wasn't even this bad with the 1500. Maybe it's sort of the 2000 sort of sticking to the panel or something. There you go, getting a little bit of spin out of it. That's a joke, man. Alright, I'm going to go straight from 2000 to 3000. I'm not even going to properly dry it off. I'm pretty confident that it's going to be done properly. But yeah, I did do one piece of 2000 per side because you do start losing performance, especially with these ultra fine sandpapers. So some are better than others, but I did find that I was starting to lose performance towards the end of that, that other side. So anyway, on with the 3000, but you don't want to go too fast with these. I've found you can actually end up yeah, it can kill the sandpaper too fast if you have these going too fast. But one thing I did actually notice with these when I was using these, it was stalling, so it was like not doing much. It wasn't spinning around, so I ended up finding that it needed lots of water. So first I was like, what's it doing? I was blaming the sander, but it must have just been sort of creating a vacuum there and stopping it from spinning. So I found extra bit of water and it was working fine. Alright, so that's the 3000 done, and I'm just going to go bang straight on with the 5000. Most of you guys probably could skip this 5000 stage and just go straight to the buff, but hey, I've got it, so I may as well use it. Just a quick go over it with the 5. Rightio, so that's it. 1200 on the block, 1500 on the orbital sander with the Trizac, 2000, 3000 and 5000. It feels like it's taken probably an hour and a half, 2 hours. Yeah, the scratch refinement is quite a time consuming stage, but definitely worth doing. But as you can see there, now that I've got it up to the 5000, you can there's a gloss to it, right? So what you can do is if you see any slightly dull spots, you'll know that that does need a little bit more of a sand. And as I'm sitting here, I've actually just noticed there's some deep, I reckon that must be the 1500 grit stage. Potentially a bit of dust or something has got up in there. So before I do start sanding, I will refine that one, get that one out. But apart from the rest of it, I'm pretty happy to start polishing. The pad I'm using is the 3M green there, and I was given this by Stefan from Sonax the other day, yesterday actually. So I thought I may as well give his Ultimate Cut 6+3 a go. So yeah, we'll give that a shot for the cut stage. And then the perfect finish is basically like a step 2. I do actually have some of their nano polishes. As you can see there, I've got quite the selection of polishes. There's that Ultimate Cut. I've got a big bottle of it as well. But then the last step, I'll probably go with the nano polish from Sonax. It's basically the same as the 3M step 3 there. So yeah. Anyway, like I say, I'm just going to fix that last bit and then get onto that buff. Yeah, sorry Sonax, I just find it really watery. It just doesn't cut it. Sorry, pardon the pun, but yeah, as soon as I got that 3M fast cut, bang, just starts cutting it up exactly how I wanted it. Ooh, nice. Yeah, that's good. But yeah, I'm kind of a bit pissed off about that. Like that, I reckon that 100% has got to be that orbital sander not strong enough to keep spinning. It just stalls. It gets just, yeah, it wiggles on the spot. It's just not pushing around. It's not doing what it's meant to do. A piss weak Roops orbital sander there. So yeah, I guess this is why I've never really done this kind of thing on my own car, because the amount of time and effort it takes to get that last sort of 5% or so of perfection out of your paintwork takes a long time. So yeah, have a look at that. Like from a distance, it looks fine. It's like, oh yeah, that's your step one. It's nice and shiny. It's looking nice and flat. But the closer you get, and you may not even, see if we can even pick it up. You can barely even see it. But like there's one here, so you see those little sort of pigtails? That must be from that 1500 grit stage. And even through here, I missed some of the block marks. I swear I could not see them. But yeah, I reckon a few things happening. I reckon that orbital sander sucks and it stalls way too easy. It's got no torque behind it. So I found I had to, when I was using it, I had to put heaps of water on there to lubricate it. I probably should have done maybe 2 or even 3 pieces of that 1500 just to make sure I removed that 1200 grit stage better. And even with the 3000, the 2000 and 3000, I probably should have yeah, sort of used them a little bit more, and potentially maybe next time I might actually go to these ones. The 2000 dry, because I find it easier to see exactly what you have and have not done. But ultimately, this is why I'm glad that I did one panel at a time, because I can sort of learn as I go. And what I've basically done, I've given it just a very quick first cut. So then what I'll do, I'll get the alcohol cleaner, which that will remove any of the greasy sort of layer from the cutting stage, because I did give it a quick cut. So I'm going to remove all of that and then probably just leave it overnight, let it breathe, let it do what it's going to do, and then I'll just yeah, go back to the 2000 grit with the dry stage. Yeah, 2000 grit dry, and then just hit the spots that need it, and then again go 3000, 5000 and buff it up again. I'll get there. I'm a little bit let down. I was hoping for something a bit better than that, particularly that big section over here. Again, you may not even quite be able to see it, because yeah, there's just through there where this light is here, a bit of a dull stage, and it's a big section where I can still see those block marks. And same with here too. I'm wondering if that was because I was using the hard block, but either way, it's look, it's looking awesome. I know it's going to get there. It'll definitely get there. But yeah, I was sort of hoping to get that bonnet a bit further along today. But after looking at the way that it looks now, I am a little bit let down, like I say. Let's see if we can sort of pick up on those scratches for you. No, you can barely see it. Yeah, either way. So hopefully I've got it better this time. But yeah, it didn't take long after getting the buff out to realise that I'd missed quite a few of those deeper scratches. It was mainly the 1200 grit from the block and the 1500 grit from the orbital sander, those Trizac discs that I was using. These ones here. So what must have happened is I was getting some pigtails, and I was thinking about it last night. It's not necessarily dust in between the sandpaper and the paint. I actually reckon what starts happening is you can get your own clear coat can sort of go hard and ball up on that, and then that can sort of create that pigtail if you're not careful. Another thing I learned is that this orbital sander sucks balls. It's got no guts to it, so I think that's another part of what was happening. You can just see the pattern of the pigtails. It's not spinning around the way that it should be, so yeah, it's stalling way too easy. But either way, so what I did yesterday was get the buff out, just buffed over the whole thing, and that sort of showed me exactly where I needed to concentrate on, and well, I needed to concentrate on the whole thing. But being that it was shiny in all the lows, even in the deep scratches, it was kind of like a guide coat for me to know how far I needed to sand. So what I ended up doing was just hitting it with the 2000 grit, these purple finishing films, and I'm going to go back to them. So I thought I'd give these a shot this time, but I don't know. They do last a lot longer than these, but I just find these, you can see exactly where you're at easier. That's what I've found anyway. So you might burn through a few more, but I'm going to have to go and buy a couple more boxes. I thought I was going to be ready to do this entire job. But yeah, I might end up having to get some more of those purple finishing film discs before I continue on with the rest of it. But we'll see how we go. Either way, that's been, yeah, 2,000, 3,000 and 5,000. I'm now confident that I'm going to be able to get that buff out, and I've removed all of those deeper sanding scratches. So it is looking crazy good. So there's a couple of little sections through here. Again, it's probably so fine that you can't quite see it, but a few little sections where I've missed some orbital scratches. There was like a little bit on that edge too. I've taken note of that. I'll put a little bit more compound on it, and I'll probably just go back over and cut the entire thing with a new pad. So as you can see, these 3M pads, they've got a dual side on them. But what I have actually noticed, these foam pads, they can still look okay, so they're not actually starting to sort of fall apart yet, but you'll just lose that hardness and the cut to them. So yeah, I recommend just, you know, one respray, probably use two. Because of the way that I'm doing this, I'm cutting it back flat. Yeah, 2 or 3 pads for a full respray. Like, don't worry about the money or the price, because labor is more expensive, and the amount of time that you're going to spend of the spots that you miss. So the compound and the fillers and the grease in the compound can sort of make it look cut, but then after it breathes and that compound washes out over a few weeks, you'll find that you will get these little sanding scratches. So yeah, you can just see there it's a little bit dull on the edge, whereas if you go in there, so that's what I'm talking about. I call them cutback marks, some people call them holograms. But yeah, you're much more likely to get that if you don't change that pad and don't keep them, like keep a new pad. I do like foam, don't get me wrong, like I do like lamb's wool, but I don't know, these days I've just found that you're best off refining those scratches with the sanding stage, and when you are ready to do the polishing stage, just hit it with foam, because yeah, there's more than one way to skin a cat, whatever works at the end of the day. But yeah, there you go. It's looking crazy good, like silly good. Especially, yeah, I was a little bit let down with yesterday's results after the first cut. I didn't quite think I was going to miss that many spots, but hey, you know, you get that on the big jobs, and it's looking killer now. So yeah, I'm not even going to have to re-sand any of these spots. I'll just flip that pad over to the new side, recut the entire bonnet, and then I'll do the polishing procedure. Crazy, crazy good. Have a look at that. But yeah, when it came to the repair procedure on this panel, this bonnet, this was one of the last panels that I did, and I just got to the point where I'm like, man, I've had enough, and I just want to get this bloody thing painted. I'm not obsessing over every little imperfection, so there are some little imperfections here and there, some little wobbles, but on the other hand, there's not much strength in those panels. Like the inner frame's not actually necessarily holding it that tight, so as soon as you get on a block onto it, you sort of start waving it. And yeah, if you go for perfect on some of these, you never really get it. You'll just end up chasing your tail, and you will end up giving up at some point. And it probably won't look much better than that anyway. Look, considering for an old bonnet, an old 70s bonnet, it actually looks sick. Like, it really does. yeah, I'm wrapped. I can't say how wrapped I am. So perfect finish is the glaze that I've decided to use instead of 3M step 2. I actually don't have any 3M step 2. I've got this step 3. So what I like to do is like slow the buff down as you go finer, like through to the finer grades of polish. So I just like to sort of work it in first, just get it all over the panel, and then go over the panel sort of systemically or systematically. And also as you go, like I push less pressure on, so as you know, at the very start I'll push more pressure on, but as I slow down, I'll push less pressure on. How good is that looking? So that's after the perfect finish. You could just leave it like that. Like I could just leave it like that, but I've had experience with really tricky to polish clear coats, so I know that there is another level to get to. You're probably never really gonna notice any imperfections on this kind of color and with this kind of clear. So this is the Quartz liquid glass clear coat. It's a really high quality clear coat, good yeah, HS, good gloss retention out of it, and it's not terrible to polish. But I say that because I have used some clears that are an absolute nightmare. So a couple that come to mind are the Quartz Crystal Clear. I really don't recommend that. I've got that on the roof of the Corolla. And the PPG LVC 105 Clear. These clears, they're nearly like ceramic clears. They go way too hard, right? And any scratch, like if you just go like that, you'll leave a scratch. And I just did that on here and I can't see anything. So that's what you want. Like you do, I believe that you want like a little bit of softness, a little bit of sort of self-repairing to your clear coat. So that's what I found. When they go really fully rock hard, they are too susceptible to the scratches. And what that means when you're polishing is you've just got to go to the next level. And it's one of those things that most painters, most detailers don't even know about because you have not worked with those really tricky to polish clears. Detailers call them soft clears, but look, are you going to trust a detailer or a painter to give you a proper wording for a clear coat? I'd be trusting the painter, the guy that knows about the clear. They are hard clears, right? So it's not soft clears, they're hard clears. They go so hard that they take all of the scratches. This has actually got a little bit of softness in it. So if I get my fingernail, right, and I push into it, it will actually push a little indentation into it, but give it a day or so, or whatever it be. If it's in the sun, it might come up quicker. It will sort of self-repair. So the same thing, you need that little bit of softness to your clear coats. Either way, because I've had the experience with those tricky clear coats, I know for a fact, and most painters, most detailers do not know this, you will never get the best of the best on the worst clears, on the hardest clears, without a rotary. You will never get the best look with a orbital or a dual action polisher. You just won't do it. I'm sorry, I know there might be some people there that disagree with me, but you're wrong, right? I'm sorry, but you are wrong. I've been down a few rabbit holes when it comes to polishing, and like I say, most people would just stop there at the step 1 and step 2 and leave it like that. And you could on this color with this clear, but like I say, I've got what it takes. I know how to get it to that next level. So another thing that will happen with your orbital polishes, you'll lose the clarity and the full gloss out of that clear, and it'll sort of kill the color a little bit, if that makes sense. But yeah, either way, I've just decided to use the Nano Polish 0306. Like I say, it is basically the same thing as that 3M step 3. So yeah, got to use that rotary on the blue pad. I actually just found one last little bit that, you know what, like nobody would ever see it, but I've seen it. Now I've seen it, I can't unsee it. So while I'm here, I'm just gonna fix that. Maybe even just hit it with some hand sanding paper. So that's 2000. Give it a hit with 3002. Maybe even give it a quick 5. Why not? It's there. May as well use it. Now that looks incredible. So yeah, with the last stages, you want a nice plush microfiber. So there we go. Lots of polishing involved in that, but a dead flat finish looks absolutely incredible. Like a mirror. Words need not apply. There you go. There you go. I could just about hang up the boots on YouTube now. I've shown the world what I can do. I probably can't really top that, what I've done in this garage here. There you go. Gunman out.